Hi, I am Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi, everyone. Today we are talking about relish uncertainty. The idea in the face of new pursuit or challenge to welcome the unknown of the future, because that is where we find our greatest opportunities and growth. When we first opened up on this topic, I was like, I don't know, interesting. But then the more I've dug into it, the more I love it so much. And so as I dove in more to this idea, because relish uncertainty, Google that, there's not a lot out there. But what I did was embracing uncertainty, right? Which is different. Embracing it versus like just feeling it and being in it. It's still a little bit different. So I found this article, and Jill Sudi interviews this woman, Maggie Jackson, who wrote a book on the concept. And this was in the Greater Good magazine. It's a science-based insight for a meaningful life. But the new book argues that being unsure can help us learn, improve our mental health, and reduce polarization. It is said, life is uncertain. We never know what will happen, and many things are unknowable. Absolutely. This can make us feel stressed or worried, since the unknown is associated with danger. I've shared my adoption journey. Was I able to get to a place of I relished in uncertainty? I'm not sure if I was ever to get to that place, but I was able to get to the place of faith that I will be guided in the way I'm meant to be guided, and I will end up with the child I'm meant to end up with. And what a beautiful thing to let go and be done with the anxiety that I was faced with during that time as the wait happened for 4 years. Because I would imagine, I wonder what she's going to look like. I wonder what she's going to be like, who she's going to be. But just relish in the uncertainty of it. So Maggie Jackson argues in her book, Uncertain, the Wisdom and Wonder of Being Unsure. There are many benefits to allowing ourselves to be unsure about what's happening or what will happen. Embracing uncertainty is tied to easier learning, better decision-making, responding well in crisis, improved mental health, and warmer social relationships. Even during difficult social interactions, like crossing political divides, when we can let go of sureness, look beyond what we already know, stay curious, and listen to dissent, we can often come up with better solutions to the problems we encounter. So Maggie states that we have a very negative view of uncertainty. Absolutely. We largely see it as paralyzing. But actually, uncertainty is, first of all, a kind of good stress. When we meet something new, ambiguous, or unexpected, we have a stress response, both psychological and neural, that allows the brain to be more receptive to new data. Our attention broadens and our working memory improves. It's a kind of wakefulness that's really important, giving us the opportunity to learn. I was trying to think about as I'm reading this, like in my business, totally uncertain, like uncertainty all the time. And now that I've been able, after I think I'm at 19 years, maybe almost 20, that I have been able to just be okay with it. And it is a type of faith of knowing that I'm going to be directed in the line of the path that I'm meant to be in, and just to embrace whatever that looks like, but pay attention to that as well. Just like now I'm shifting to more culture and really focused leadership, and the sales portion is kind of going to the side more. It's naturally, organically happening. It's an evolution. Did I look and say, this is what I want to happen? No. But as it came, I was like, it's just time, and allowing it to happen and being open to it. So uncertainty is not just a spur to better thinking. It's also an opportunity to investigate, to open up the space between question and answer. Studies find that uncertainty is really important or helpful for negotiation or for arguing. For example, you can make better arguments when you're not completely closed-minded and certain. Being unsure is also related to deeper deliberation. The adaptive expert is someone who is able to recognize and utilize their uncertainty to investigate a crisis or a problem or a new situation. Uncertainty does slow us down, but that slowing allows us to uncover mistakes, especially in social situations. It allows for more accuracy. It's linked to better collaboration, more creative, inclusive, open-minded group thinking, and other benefits that basically through the airing of differences. Good conflict isn't necessarily about the triumph of one side over the other or the victory of a dissenting opinion. Frequent, respectful dissent and disagreement, even if wrong, produce performance gains in groups because the group is jolted into a kind of wakeful, questioning, and skeptical uncertainty. Jackson says, this flies in the face of a lot of pressures today to all get on the same page. For example, hiring for fit or emphasizing that we are a family. As scientist Sam Summers says, a lack of diversity leads to lazy information processing. In contrast, uncertainty sparked by disagreement helps us learn from, not hide from, differences. I was able to witness something very beautiful in a team where a couple people spoke up, and it created that feeling of like collaboration. And it wasn't in a way that was like, you're wrong. It was like, but this is important. And they advocated for it in a way that was very productive. And it just showed everybody has different ways of thinking. And that's when I kind of did a debrief with the other team members. I'm like, what happened? What did you notice? And what really came out is that everybody thinks so differently. And that's what we want. It's totally what we want. So she shares how there's a really interesting connection between curiosity and uncertainty and well-being. Highly curious people tend to share a quality that Todd Kashdan calls stress tolerance, or a capacity to tolerate the stress of the unknown. It's awkward to ask questions. It's uncomfortable to stick your nose into the unknown. But people who are highly curious tend to be willing to withstand the discomfort that it takes to explore the unknown. Curious people who can tolerate the stress of uncertainty are more willing to express dissent at work and are actually more engaged at work. They tend to have more pleasurable moments in life and higher life satisfaction. When you're open and curious to all of life, both the good and bad parts, you can thrive. Secondly, clinical psychology researchers like Michael Dugas in Canada are treating patients with anxiety by bolstering their tolerance of uncertainty. In brief, uncertainty tolerance is a personality disposition that relates to how you view the unknown. People who are intolerant of uncertainty see uncertainty as a threat. while those who are more tolerant of uncertainty see it as a challenge. I always see it as a challenge. I'm wired that way. It's just how I think. I'm an extremely curious person. I like to ask questions. I like to learn. Whereas just even taking risk, I've worked with people that they're just like, no, I do not like risk. And I challenge them, do something that looks risky. I want you to look at this and see if you can do it. Just had this conversation with someone. So targeting tolerance of uncertainty is one of the more promising new treatments for many mental disorders because the fear of the unknown is beginning to be seen as a root vulnerability factor for mental disorders. Such interventions jump off from exposure therapy and teach people practical ways to try new things, to work at the edge of the unknown. Some patients, for instance, try to delegate more at work. Yeah, that's something I talk about all the time. And it is the unknown. How can you mitigate the risk? Yeah, there's ways, but people let them learn. Like, don't steal their ability to learn by not delegating to them. It's so important. And there's so many other pieces if you don't delegate what happens in organizations. So by doing so, they can learn that their predictions about uncertainty being a disaster are often wrong, right? But it's how we handle those mistakes. If you're a perfectionist, it's going to be hard, but that's your work. Let go of that perfection. So, what affects our willingness to be uncertain? Jackson says, uncertainty tolerance is both a personality trait and a state. In other words, it is both innate. People tend to dislike the unknown to varying degrees. And yet it is also a situation, in the later case, when people are tired, when they're pressed to give an answer, when they're suffering from information overload. Those are all times when no matter where they lie on the spectrum of tolerating uncertainty, they tend to want an answer, any answer. Leading psychologists, including Nicholas Carlton, believe that our devices may be correlated with rising uncertainty and tolerance. Yes. How many times are you with people and they're like, oh, just look it up? And I'm like, let's talk about it a little bit. Let's ponder it before we just Google it. For example, one of Carlton's studies suggests that increased adoption of cell phones and the internet over time is related to rising intolerance of uncertainty in young people. Yeah, more work needs to be done on that. Absolutely. But anecdotally, we live in a certainty-seeking culture, and this may be bolstering our fear of unknown. For sure. Being more educated both individually and more formally about what uncertainty is. We're operating with extreme, outdated ideas of this mindset, shaped by hundreds of years of industrial and then technological pressures to be efficient. The pressure to know and to judge ourselves and others only by outcomes squeezes out the valuing of process. Times when we might need a moment to reconsider a situation and inhabit the situation or the question rather than racing to an answer, any answer. I am totally okay with, that's interesting. I need some time to think about that before just being like, blah, 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 and having the answer. It's important to be attuned to the signal that uncertainty gives when you confront something. That it is time to update our understanding of the world. One recent study out of the University of Washington did qualitative interviews with doctors after they'd finished a clinical shift and asked them about the sticky moments in their day. And what was found that the physicians' discomfort of uncertainty was correlated with a heightened monitoring of the situation and more of a tendency to look ahead to define and muster the resources needed. Through this study, they're reminded that the unease of uncertainty is actually a gift. Picking up on uncertainty's invitation to learn involves leaning into uncertainty. First, if you're expecting life to be familiar, unchanging, you're going to be missing out. People who are stressed in highly unpredictable situations, who are leaning into the stress of uncertainty without being overwhelmed, are actually able to perform better. Some studies show that people who are taught that the stress of the unknown, the stress of making a presentation or a school exam, is equipping them to perform better, actually become more effective in these challenging situations. That's a kind of uncertainty tolerance. This is so cool. I love it. So Jackson says there's a lot of work now on perspective taking, a cognitive form of empathy, where you try to imagine someone else and how they see the world. Anybody who's talked to me knows I'm big on empathy. I will always go there. It's been linked to the being willing to sit closer to someone whom you're threatened by, such as a convicted murderer or another outcast, maybe a drug user. And it's linked to being willing to engage with them and with others of their kind. In other words, there's a spillover effect beyond the individual to other members of the same group. In these ways, uncertainty allows us to better connect both with those we loathe and those with whom we overly agree. It allows us to more clearly see and, most importantly, learn from the remarkable diversity within our own and the other side, inside of seeing people as just like us or just another one of them. It allows us to move away from black and white thinking and see the complexity that is already there. I leave with you this quote by Goff. Embrace uncertainty. Some of the most beautiful chapters in our lives won't have a title until much later. Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.